Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Wherever you are in the world, this is my Saturday edition of the Full English. And I'm sure you're all saying, oh, lovely, right? Not. Let me just say this to you. I have had my vitamins for the day. I've had my green slime for the day. I've gone out for a walk and I feel refreshed. I feel fantastic. And not only that, I got on the scales and I'd lost another pound. I'm gently losing the weight, and that's exactly what I want to do. So I'm very happy that I have discarded my medication that I've said to many people was making me put on weight, and now I'm seeing a general decline. My fitness is coming back, etc. But that is not the purpose of this video. What I'm going to do now is read through an article. It's funny because it's sent to me by a well-known solicitor who stood up for us many times. Let me just see if I can share this screen, and I'm sure I can. There is no sound to it, so it should come straight up on your screen and you should be seeing it in full. It is the Law Society Gazette. Now, I've spoke to a number of people and I do want to be training people. I believe that we need our own people out there now. And I'm going to be going into some detail. I just want to read you this because it's really important. And there's a particular paragraph that I want it to stand out, especially to Stephen Todd. Who is someone who, from the north of England, Preston, Reps Gym, etc., who is standing up for the people, standing up for his own rights. And basically, the two judges so far have completely and utterly gone against him. I would say ignored his legal arguments, which is completely wrong. And it just shows how badly infiltrated the judiciary is now. Right, so I'm going to show you this. I'm going to read through it. I do think it's important, and I'm very grateful to the solicitor that sent it to me. Right, so here it is, the Law Society Gazette, and it is commentary and opinion. Master of the Rolls, intrepid wartime jaunt, written by Michael Cross on the 20th of May, 2021. Now, bearing in mind, people, I absolutely love the law, right? So I don't want any qualms or issues about me thinking that I am X or this or that or whatever. I actually believe in the law of the land. And I can see what's going on with our judiciary. I do not like it. I don't want it, and I don't want it to continue. And I think and there's going to be a series of other videos which I'm going to start doing as well, because I bought another book and I'm going to do a series on that book, and just to show you the reality of what can happen when the judiciary is not independent. So at first glance, it's just another official announcement of the sort filling pages of the Law Society's Gazette 80 years ago. During the absence abroad of Sir Wilford Green, who just disappeared, by the way, the Master of the Rolls, the functions of the Master of the Rolls under the Solicitors Act, right? Hang on. This is the edition of May 1941, at the height of Britain's isolation during the Second World War, where abroad would anyone not in uniform, let alone a 57-year-old member of the senior judiciary, possibly have been absent that month. In 1941, Gazette wasn't saying, but 80 years on, and no longer bound by strictures on careless talk, we can reveal that Sir Wilfrid, best known among today's lawyers for his judgment in the, love it, Wednesbury unreasonable case, was crossing the Atlantic to do his bit to forge a war-winning alliance. While there, he delivered one of the most remarkable speeches ever by an English judge. And let me just say this to you. I have read many lectures from many of our truly English judges. Alfred, otherwise known as Tom. And you've got to understand that Tom Denning was one of our greatest English judges. There are many, many others. But this guy as well is someone that I was sent this, and it struck me that I need to read this out and go from there. But Sir Wilfrid had been invited to speak at an event marking the 250th anniversary of the foundation of the Supreme Court of New York. It was no ordinary conference jolly. We presume he travelled by sea across the hostile North Atlantic. More than 50 Allied merchant ships were sunk that month on that passage, including the passenger liner Narissa, with the loss of 207 lives. Even if the government had laid on air transport, the only possible crossing via Orkney, Iceland, Greenland, in an unpressurized flying boat would have been at least as perilous and uncomfortable. Sir Wilfrid, who had won the Military Cross in 1918, not unusual for our judges, by the way, had no reason to flaunt his physical courage. Why then did he do it? This was the context in spring 1941. The official neutral USA was taking its first formal steps on the road to war. In March, President Franklin Roosevelt persuaded a skeptical Congress to pass his Lend-Lease Act as a way of supplying Britain arms without cash payments. In a fireside chat on the 27th of May, the president had declared a state of unlimited national emergency, which further increased his options for assisting Britain's fight. Roosevelt was nonetheless unsure of how far he could go. The previous year, he had made an election promise: your boys are not going to be sent into any foreign war. Isolationist sentiment and outright hostility to the British Empire was still a political force, and the president knew that many of his actions were built on legally thin foundations. Green's job, on behalf of Winston Churchill, was to make sure the US legal establishment was on side in understandings that Britain's fight was America's fight too. The judge, by the published record of the event on the 28th of May, the very day after Roosevelt's emergency declaration, he was pushing an open door. Proceedings opened with a message from the president himself, very much dedicated to the Atlantic Alliance, setting up the US and the British Commonwealth as the only places on earth where the scales of justice are still evenly held by a figure unashamed. He welcomed Sir Wilfrid to the celebration of the survival of these citadels of modern civilized living. He was followed by Sir Wilfrid, who opened with a tactful reference to George Washington and his regard for the true administration of justice. This is a key paragraph and why it's highlighted. Moving swiftly on, he noted that great principle that the law is supreme over the citizen and the state is the keystone of your free institutions as it is ours. Now, I want to repeat that again. He noted that the great principle that the law is supreme over the citizen and the state is the keystone. Remember, keystone is the keystone of your free institutions as it is of ours. By contrast, in countries governed by despotism, one of the first things which the tyrant attacks is the administration of justice. If he can secure that those whom he wishes to destroy are condemned by the courts, he can make the judges the submissive instruments to carry out his will. If he can destroy the independence of the bar, the removal of his enemies is easy. Now, wherever this is in this video, I want you to come back to this paragraph, because anyone that ever tells you that the Constitution and the common law is not the highest law of the land, above politics, above Parliament, and gives us the freedom to take back England, that paragraph And many other paragraphs by other judges say the same thing. The judges that disagree with that are the very judges and the very people that are submissive to our enemies. Our enemies meaning the white working class. Our enemies meaning the black working class. Our enemies meaning the brown working class. Our enemies meaning the people that want to enslave us. And you need to reread that paragraph and understand that what I've been telling you is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. And what I am witnessing before my eyes in this nation, I never ever dreamt I would witness. That the Nazification of this country has taken place, not is taking place, has taken place. And I have shown you previously videos and pictures of the Nazis during the Second World War in Hyde Park. Where do you think they went? They went away, they licked the wounds, and they infiltrated. The communists went away, they licked their wounds, and they infiltrated. And via the infiltration, via the Fabian Society, the London School of Economics, and other various methods, their target, their strategy was to take over the independence of the judiciary and replace the judges with people who were placed there not on merit, but on political ideology. And that's what you're seeing before you now. And the next layer of that is the police force. The layers above that are the education system. But the ideology of socialism is the one that controls them all. So again, in such an atmosphere, men become furtive and mean, and their eyes are cast over their shoulders in fear of what stalks behind them. Such is the fate of the countries which the Germans have enslaved. Neutrality is an illusionary refuge, he warned. Do not think that this war is like the war of old times, when the victor laden with spoils retired to his own country, leaving the vanquished to pursue his own way of life as before. The aggressors treat with derision every ideal for which your ancestors and ours have fought and died for. Those ideals and the rule of force and fear cannot coexist in the world today. One or the other must prevail. And for the world today is a tiny place. To aggressors know, and they have proclaimed it from the housetops, that their system is to take the place of ours, that our system is to be eliminated from the world. From their point of view, they are right, because they know that if the ideals of freedom are left to flourish in any corner of the globe, they will spread inevitably and reconquer the world. Let no one smile at this threat. The threats of the Germans are not things to smile at. It goes without saying that this is not style of a typical judicial address in 1941. Indeed, it is impossible to read these words without a Churchillian growl. The more so when it comes to the peroration. You are one of the few remaining citadels of freedom. The British Commonwealth of Nations is the other. If you were to be destroyed, and it shall never be destroyed, you would be alone in the world enslaved. You would be the last citadel of freedom and the last hope of man. Would it be a pleasant world in which to be alone? At this moment, night is falling in England. In the grim darkness of that night, men and women and children will die in defense of their own right to be free and the right of the world to be free. Let us therefore keep before our eyes the noble vision of the common law and of the freedom for which it stands. Freedom of the mind, freedom of the soul, and freedom of the body. A vision which is spread over the globe. And at the same time, let us contemplate with clear eyes, but unafraid, the forces that assail us and are seeking to destroy that vision and all the hopes of mankind. Now, that particular paragraph was part of his speech and very powerful. And again, his reference to common law, freedom for which it stands, the freedom of mind, the freedom of expression, freedom of soul, the freedom of body. In other words, to say, fuck off the vaccines, right? All of this is something that you need to be aware of, that it's not just me telling you this. This is a senior judge in England that went to America and gave this speech. It's not just me saying it, but I'm just a normal, everyday man in the street standing up for justice that can see the tyranny and explaining to you that he said, look, it's in the Law Gazette. He concluded, in a few days I am returning to my own country, and there in London I shall uphold that supremacy and that rule. There is no man or woman among us but stands close to the threshold of death. But nothing will stop us maintaining those high principles. Nothing will stop us administering justice in accordance with the law. And I've no doubt he will turn in his grave if he knew what a certain judge, in the case of Steve Todd's in Preston, come out with. Basically said, Constitution's nothing to do with me, that's politics. Yes, that was a Crown Court judge. Paraphrased, but that was a Crown Court judge. And again, it will be coming out because we're going to do a big show on it and we're going to show people what is occurring in this country. Of course, we know now that Sir Wilfrid did return safely, was ennobled later that year, and served as Master of the Rolls until 1949. The alliance between the two citadels of civilized living was forged by Churchill and Roosevelt in their meeting in Newfoundland 3 months later. And at the end of that year, Adolf Hitler rescued Roosevelt from his foreign wars commitment by himself declaring war on the United States of America. Looking back on Sir Wilfrid's speech, two faults occur. First, the lack of any pretense that the Master of the Rolls was speaking other than for the government. Roosevelt welcomed Sir Wilfrid as representing the people and government of England, which was stretching several constitutional points, but no one minded. Secondly, dramatic as Sir Wilfrid's words were, it must have occurred to Churchill that their impact would have been even greater had the judge been bombed or torpedoed on the way. It would be mischievous to add to the legends involving Churchill by accusing him of conspiring to drown the Master of the Rolls. But in that desperate spring 80 years ago, a single judge's life would have been a very small change indeed. And there it is. I am actually going to put this whole thing in the description of this video if you want to read through it. But the point is, I want you to understand I'm not the only person saying these things, right? So when you look at that, again, moving swiftly on, he noted that great principle that the law, the great principle, so principle meaning it's like the principal thing that we're talking about here, the number one point, that the law is supreme over the citizen and the state, right? And that's very, very important. And again, remember what he said there, the keystone of your free institutions as it is ours. By contrast, in countries governed by despotism, one of the things which the tyrant attacks is the administration of justice. If he can secure that those whom he wishes to destroy are condemned by the courts, he can make the judges the submissive instruments to carry out his will. If he can destroy the independence of the bar, the removal of his enemies is easy, right? But this is why there's another book I'm reading, and I can tell you now, judges are in a very dangerous position because in these situations where they should be independent and have succumbed to various elements of the state or ideology or whatever way you want to describe it, but being certainly corrupted. Remember this: let us therefore keep before our eyes the noble vision of the common law and the freedom for which it stands, right? Freedom of the mind, freedom of the soul, and freedom of the body. A vision which is spread over the globe. And at the same time, let us contemplate with clear eyes, but unafraid, the forces that assail us and are seeking to destroy that vision and all the hopes of mankind. So this judge is clearly saying that it is the common law that keeps mankind free. And as I keep saying to people, England is under attack, and it's under attack from socialist, Marxist, communist, Nazis, and fascism. And the reason for that is because of our common law system, and they have infiltrated the judiciary. And there are many ways in which they've done it, but just one of the ways that they've done it is to have this silly notion that Parliament is supreme. Parliament is not supreme. We are supreme. The people are supreme. The people are sovereign. And our judiciary and our common law system is what keeps it that way, right? And any parliament that believes, and any lawyer out there that believes that Parliament could pass a law tomorrow that all blonde-haired, blue-eyed babies should be put to death and it would be quite legal, they are the people that are not common law jurists, right? They are Roman law jurists, and they are dangerous to this nation. They should be removed forthwith, right? And the reason I say that is because anyone with a brain will tell you, yeah, that under English law, that is repugnant and therefore void. So therefore, Parliament, if it created the law, and if it ever did and it was passed, everyone should look at those people, and they're already doing it, people. They're chipping away quite massively at your rights at the moment. You must have obviously noticed lockdown. And you're seeing, but what you're not seeing is the suffering in the background. So one way or the other, we need to stand up. That's it. That is the end of this particular video. But I just wanted to make sure that you all understand where I'm coming from with this. So what I'm going to do is return back to my main studio and say thank you for tuning in. This is a little, I just wanted to send this out to you. It's been sent to me by a solicitor, someone who absolutely believes in the liberty and freedom of the people, under the rule of law, I may add. But that doesn't mean under the incessant rule and governance of a despotic parliament, which is what we currently have. And we need to return back to an English parliament. That's it. Be lucky. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution. Good night. God bless.